foot in front of the other, moving forwards, never looking back. Just one more foot in front of all those countless others. We're there, imagine that.
In 2 years around the world, that is our plan. Us, that's Kati, Martin and our main character, Mr. Lehmann. A 14-year-old van. What a crazy idea, such a world travel. Said our friends, family members and many others who we told about our plans. But we don't think so. The three of us are luring the adventure. Many things we are leaving behind in Germany: a stable job, good salary, and of course our friends and family. But the wanderlust is stronger. Starting point of our 2-year travel is Canada. From there we are planning on driving through North, Central and South America. What we are doing after that we will decide spontaneously. In Halifax, Mr. Lehmann awaits us safe and sound. He was in transit for 2 weeks since we shipped him out of the Hamburg harbor. Get in, preheat and hit the road. Thereby we start our big trip. Canada has a surface area 28 times as big as Germany. For an average Central European, this vastness is beyond comprehension, but for us, this means only one thing: endless freedom. The roads and woods seemed endless to us, and soon we realize what happens when you do not fill up your gas tank at every gas station you pass.
Oh, Schwein gehabt.
Weswegen? Warum haben wir Schwein gehabt?
Naja, war ein bisschen blöd gelaufen. Die letzten 80 Kilometer kam keine Tankstelle. Ein bisschen blöd. Und jetzt haben wir ungefähr 1 Liter im Tank. Allerhöchstens und kommt den Berg kaum hoch. Und er ruckelt auch schon leicht. Aber da vorne ist die Tankstelle. Juhu!
The only good thing is that we get to know our car a bit better. Even when driving off-roads on uneven paths. It is late in the season, September. We are traveling mostly without seeing other people. We have the national parks to ourselves and can watch animals that usually stay hidden. Slowly, it's getting colder and uncomfortable. The first snow of the long Canadian winter can't be far. we decide to drive along the Great Lakes and then to head south, towards the sun and the United States of America. The country of unlimited opportunity impresses us immediately. Somehow, it is exactly as American as we thought it would be. Especially the cars. But we will talk about those again later. The distances between towns are getting larger and the roads bring us some challenges. One reason might be that we don't allow our GPS to lead us through larger cities and rather take the small roads. It is fun, but can also get pretty stressful at times.
Gestern sind wir 150 Kilometer Schotterpiste gefahren. Total spannend, macht Spaß, sehr wackelig.
Und ja, als wir dann irgendwann mal nach hinten schauten, da haben wir in unserem Innenraum eine riesige Staubwolke gesehen.
Obwohl man alle Fenster geschlossen hatte, alle Türen waren zu und die Lüftung war sogar aus und wir sind fast verbrüht in der Karre. Nach 15 Kilometer Schotterpiste stand eine riesige Staubwolke hinten überm Bett, in den Schlafsäcken, in allen Schränken, überall. Der Staub kriecht in jede Ritze. Wir haben alle Schubkästen rausgenommen.
Alles abgespült, alles gewaschen. Wir hoffen, das hält jetzt eine Weile vor.
No, it won't.
Dann habe ich die Türen neu eingestellt, die Heckklappe neu eingestellt.
An verschiedenen Stellen nochmal abgedichtet. Ja, wir werden einfach sehen, ob es was bringt.
It helped nothing. Coming from the north, we cross through Minnesota and North Dakota until we get to Badlands National Park in South Dakota. The park is famous for its impressive sandstone formations. Scientists still argue about how this landscape developed. One should beware of rattlesnakes in this area, since they enjoy lying in the sun here. Kati was glad that we did not see any. Maybe they were scared away by the stepping of our shoes? Or Kati's anti-snake dance that she performed. Who knows? Especially interesting are the bisons to us, since you can watch them here gather in large herds. It gives us the feeling of being in the wild, wild west. Possibly because actual cowboys are crossing paths with us here.
She's actually better behaved than that one there.
You can come hold her. Come hold her. Come on.
Here, come here, Cassandra.
I know. I was getting her a lead.
Bin ich die Pferdeflüstererin?
Hey, Pocahontas.
Tell me what?
The horse whisperer?
Yeah. Dwayne is.
That
guy there.
He's what? Yeah?
Yeah, he's the trainer. He's the guy that knows all about this stuff. Here, Pocahontas, come here.
We probably need some more practice with this.
There you go.
On our way south are two major sites of the United States. That's what our guidebook says. An American is not a real citizen of the US unless he or she has seen Mount Rushmore and the Crazy Horse Monument. The high admission prices take our excitement away from those tourist-filled attractions. From that money, we rather fill our tank with gas again and take a small detour to enjoy the breathtaking landscape and the remote roads. We are on the way to the Grand Canyon. To be exact, we want to find a hidden lookout point that you can only find through the road we're taking here. The stresses and strains are worth the effort. Right there, the Colorado River has cut many hundred meters deep into the rocks. Therefore, we almost can see the rafting boats below us. But the Americans don't just like the nature, they even more so love everything that has an engine. Almost no other country in the world is so famous for all kinds of extravagant and dreamlike vehicles. 8-cylinder motors with 400 horsepower, pickup trucks with enormous truck beds, and huge trailers in the size of buses are pretty common here. Mr. Lehmann seems pretty small in comparison to such vehicles. The probably most legendary road in the world, the Route 66, lives off this love for extravagant cars. The Route 66 used to go from Chicago to Los Angeles. Today, multi-lane highways have been built on top of it, and only a few parts of the streets you can drive on are still original. For example, when you drive from Flagstaff over Kingman to Seligman. The original meaning and value of the Route 66 has been lost. One could think that Seligman turned into Sleeping Beauty and probably won't wake up again. Only tourism keeps the many souvenir shops that are along the road alive. We are traveling further south to the driest, hottest and lowest lying place in North America, the Death Valley. And we are welcomed by it with pleasant temperatures and rain. That really happens rarely here. Usually tourists sweat with about 50 degrees Celsius in the shade. We get to enjoy the valley in 20 degrees Celsius though. You can watch the bushes turn green and the life comes back into the desert after many months of dryness. US national parks do not have a lot in common with German national parks. Here you even find official off-road tracks for enthusiastic car drivers like us. We are up for exploring the hinterland a bit more and look for an abandoned trail to the lost gold mines. When we are not exploring national parks, we are enjoying national forests and public lands.
Martin hat den schönsten Abenteuerspielplatz der Welt für große Jungs.
Tremendous woodland areas and unused prairie are easily accessible to everyone, and you can do whatever you want, except pollute the environment. Right here, the unlimited possibilities are truly within reach. Now we have already arrived in California. That is the last state in the US for us. Opinions differ on this state. Is this the promised hippie land or an overflowed touristic center? We experience both. We are excited to visit Slab City, apparently the last free and wild place in the world. This hippie community exists since the 50s. It is in the middle of the desert on an abandoned military base. Without water, electricity, but with a lot of art. but unfortunately also with a lot of trash. Trash from more than 6 decades. Nobody feels responsible for that. We plan on staying here for a couple of days, but the extreme heat quickly convinces us to continue our journey. We are in another desert-like area. An asphalt desert this time. Los Angeles. But we cannot stand this place for much longer either. There is a tremendous mist and pollution that literally takes our breath away. The traffic on the partially 6-laning roads is enormous. And of course 6 lanes on each side of the road. Rideshares and public transportation cannot be found anywhere, of course. We decide spontaneously to get away and drive south, towards a completely different culture.
Buenos dias aus Mexiko.
Passing Baja California, the peninsula below California, we get to Mexico. Over a distance of more than 1,700 kilometers, we get a very barren desert-like landscape, but the streets almost always goes along the wonderful coastline. The little towns are widely scattered on our map. Here we finally get the feeling of being in Latin America, including a little culture shock that is probably due to us not being able to understand the language.
Irgendwie war alles, als wir in Mexiko angekommen sind, lauter, lebendiger, die Straßen enger, aber
dreckiger.
vor allem dreckiger und auch miefischer.
Aber nach ein paar Tagen lernt man die Eigenheiten der Mexikaner zu schätzen, zum Beispiel das Essen. Und das ist wirklich toll hier, sehr preiswert. Am liebsten Tacos in allen Varianten, mit Fleisch, ohne Fleisch.
Aber am liebsten mit viel Fleisch.
Aber am liebsten mit viel Fleisch.
Okay, we stay right here in the Poblanos with my friends. We make some tacos.
By car ferry, we arrive on the Mexican mainland. From there, we drive east to Guanajuato. Since 1988 is this very unique city an UNESCO World Heritage Site. The surrounding silver mines let the city grow to one of the richest and largest ones in Central America during the early 19th century. We walk through the small alleys and find a cemetery. Here we realize that the Mexicans have a bit of a different relation to death than us. It seems like they do not take death seriously, but rather mock it. More interesting to us is the fact that until 1965 they used to take people's bodies out of their graves after 5 years of the burial to make space for new bodies. Through the local climate, most dead bodies were mummified and are now kept in the Affiliates Museo de las Momias. back to the more entertaining and fun thing. Butterflies. Pretty much anybody can enjoy them. And here, close to Mexico City, one can see about a billion of them between November and March. The giant moths fly every year about 4,000 kilometers from the north of the US, all the way over here for the cold winter season. Every morning, the butterflies wake up with the first sun rays and free the forest from a very heavy weight. We desire to travel further south, to Guatemala. Here we force ourselves to go to school for 1 week to learn Spanish, but not only that.
We say 100, 200, 300, 400.
Our teacher, named Daniel, takes us into another world, the world of the Maya. Almost half of Guatemala's population has indigenous roots. The culture of the Mayans existed all over Central America back in the day. Today their life is rather difficult. For centuries they were suppressed and enslaved by the Spanish colonies. The situation culminated in a 36-year-long civil war, which ended in 1996. The result was a destruction of the country's development. It threw it decades back. The situation is especially hard for children who have to start working when they are still very young. Many of them have very little or almost no education. Daniel tells us that it is very hard for people to keep a balance of living traditions despite poverty and to still catch up with the modern world. We are able to experience and observe the ancient culture, even more so when Daniel invites us for dinner with his family.
We call pollo. Entonces es muy económico. Mint, hierbas.
The family lives in very simple conditions. Mother and father do not even speak Spanish, but only the Quiche language of the Mayans.
Yeah, exactly. To get force. Exactly. You need to hear. You need to hear to make a noise. Huh?
We are surprised what a feast our hosts prepare for us. Steamed corn mash and chicken soup.
Get thick.
Further south in Honduras lies Copan. The city of which today you can only find remains of was already inhabited in the year 0. Its height of architecture was under the well-known king, Smoke Jaguar Imix, and 18 rabbits. We can only imagine which martial performance the Mayans have accomplished. As well as many other cities during this cultural period, Copan was abandoned and disappeared in the woods during the 12th century. continue our travels, but the national highways are challenging. Something had to happen. After 15,000 kilometers, we can notice Mr. Lehmann's first signs of fatigue, and then one part of the front axle breaks. But that's no problem here, not even on Sunday. Extraordinary problems need extraordinary solutions. But it works. Our route brings us through Nicaragua and Costa Rica, in a more and more dense rainforest that lives up to its name. The natives of those countries are of particular interest to us. Also in Panama. Our friend Sebastian has been living here for longer and takes us on a frightening tour. The indigenous people, the Nobebugle, have been living in this area for centuries. Their living space, the comarca, was given to them by the government and is autonomous. But everything can still change here now. The nation inhabited the possibly largest copper reserves in the world. The government has the hope to make billions of the maximum exploitation of the land. They plan without thinking of the inhabitants of the area and hope to dig over the mountains.
No estamos que un proyecto desconocido no lo aceptamos dentro de la comarca. Así que pedimos el respeto, nuestra comarca y la ley que tenemos. Cualquier cosa deben ser consulta a los pueblos para poder llegar a acuerdos.
In February 2012, a bill was passed which prohibited the extraction of resources from indigenous ground. Therefore, the mining project started without consultation to the public. But resistance becomes active.
La mina que están, la empresa ha tratado de mandar y hacer daño. Ahí donde que nosotros como la dirigencia comarcal, nosotros representamos como miembros de congresos generales. Entonces ahí donde que rechazamos, organizamos, protestamos porque no hay beneficio sino es destrucción. Pero necesitamos desarrollo, pero que sea desarrollo buena para permanecer.
How little the Nobebugle people have to say is obvious in those pictures. Even peaceful protests are fought back with disproportional violence. Some days after this video was recorded, they turned the tear gas and rubber bullets into real ammunition. The Nobebugle lost 2 people, and many of their people got injured in the incident. We are confounded to see this deprivation of rights of a minority in the 21st century in a developing country. Our entry stamp to the country was about to expire, and so we drive to Panama City. After almost 3 months, we say goodbye to Central America and load Mr. Lehmann onto the ship. heading for new shores, to South America. Why do we ship our car? Well, the street stops here and it continues on the other side, in between a 100 kilometer of dense rainforest. Panama and Colombia were never able to agree on building a continuous road. We fly after we ship Mr. Lehmann to Cartagena de Indias. This city in colonial style is one of the most beautiful ones in South America. It was colonized by Spaniards already in the 16th century. Since we traveled to Mexico, the weather is pretty much always hot. In Cartagena, the temperatures are even higher, with about 40 degrees Celsius. We weren't able to bear these temperatures for long and escape into the cooler mountains, the foothills of the longest mountain range on Earth, the Andes in Ecuador.
Das ist der erste Tag seit wahrscheinlich 2 Monaten, dass ich einen Pullover trage. Denn hier oben ist es kalt. Wir befinden uns auf 3900 Metern. Der Höhenrekord für unseren Herrn Lehmann und für uns auf dieser Reise. Aber wahrscheinlich geht es noch weiter hoch.
Yes, we will be astonished.
Es ist für uns beeindruckend zu sehen, dass trotz der Höhe hier so viel wächst. Zum Beispiel Flechten, Moose, Farne und diese lustigen behaarten Pflanzen, die wir nicht einordnen können.
We drive along the road of volcanoes, through the dislocation of the tectonic plates in the interior of the Earth. You can gaze at many active volcanoes. For example, the Tungurahua. But he doesn't want to show himself fully yet. Therefore, we visit the weekly cattle market in Otavalo first. The merchants sell pretty much everything you can think of. In Europe, we would advertise this as adventure or live show shopping at shopping malls, but we enjoy strolling through the colorful goings way more. In the villages, there are small corner stores everywhere, but supermarkets are pretty rare in this area. Therefore, the wholesale market is the best option for the weekly shopping. You almost can't get your produce more fresh. We continue moving along the road of volcanoes with finding an adventurous campground. We stay overnight in a green valley, which turns out to be a 4-kilometer wide crater of the Pululahua. Luckily, the volcano extinct many thousands of years ago and has turned in the meantime even into a glacier once. Hence, there was no danger to us. Check this out, this is another milestone on our road trip, the middle of the world. We cross the equator and arrive on the southern hemisphere, and we are still followed by volcanoes. For example, the Antisana and the Cotopaxi. With almost 6,000 meters, it is one of the highest active volcanoes in the world. But what is up with the Tungurahua? Oh, it's smoking already. We continue to drive in greater heights, but Mr. Lehmann does not like that. He does not get enough oxygen. Unser Navi kann sich zwar noch nicht richtig entscheiden, auf welcher Höhe wir genau sind. 4870 Meter ungefähr. Das ist der bisherige Höhenrekord. Unser Herr Lehmann hat gequalmt und gestunken und gemuckert, aber wir sind hochgekommen. Und dass das Auto wirklich nicht mehr vorankommt, das zeige ich euch jetzt. Hier oben kann man nämlich fast nur noch im ersten Gang fahren. Jede Steigung verlangt unserem Herrn Lehmann alles ab. Das Auto blubbert und es qualmt, aber im ersten Gang geht's noch. Ja. Und blöderweise wird es jetzt immer steiler. Ich bin schon am Vollgas ersten Gang und es passiert nicht mehr viel. Nicht aufgeben. Komm, mein Kleiner. Nicht hinbleiben. After this experience, we want to make our van a little bit more stronger. And we get a shorter differential for more power on the rear axle. But of course, the part does not fit. Much work without success.
Super. Und dann noch Gewitter. Ich freue mich total.
Or is that dull rumble coming from Tungurahua? As luck would have it, we are at the right time in the right place. First, we stay in the mountains, but drive into another country. The roads of Peru couldn't be more adventurous. Narrow mountains passes in 4,000-meter height. Steep slopes without guard railing and muddy underground. A driver really feels rushes of adrenaline even without driving at high speed. Some sides of Peru are still not really accessible. We were able to see that right away. We are on our way to the warrior of the clouds, or also called Chachapoyas. The prehistoric tribe of the Andes died out after it was conquered by the Incas in the 15th century. We need to walk very far to see the last evidence of this culture. In this crevice rest the sarcophags of important chiefs. Nobody knows how the up to 2-meter high tubes got there. There's no path up. We also can't get much closer, because 3 bulls block our way and start to scrape with their hooves.
Schatz, geh weg. Geh nach hinten, los. Ich will nicht, dass das ein Ochse ist und der uns jetzt hier verfolgt.
We better run away. To the next destination, the Peruvian Coast Desert. A lot of hot sand after weeks in the cool mountains.
Die peruanische Küstenwüste ist schon eine sehr interessante Landschaft. Auf der einen Seite der Pazifik und auf der anderen Seite endloser Sand.
And now, Mr. Lehmann likes to play there first of all.
Das Wichtigste aber beim Fahren in der Wüste ist das Luftablassen, damit man nicht im tiefen Sand versinkt.
God!
For almost 2 months we are in Peru, and we are far from being bored. The country is 3.5 times larger than Germany, and it has a lot to offer in features of landscape and culturally. Every morning, when the sun rises over the mountaintops, the biggest raptor of the Andes awakes. In the Colca Canyon, the majestic condors, with a wingspan of up to 3 meters, move up with the thermal lift to search for their prey. In the past, the condors were found all over the west coast of South America, but their population has decreased to about 10,000 of them today. Since we're speaking of flying, the most important side of Peru is truly visible from up in the air. The Nazca lines were rediscovered by chance during an overflight in 1924. The more than 1,000-year-old lines, symbols and figures are still a big mystery to scientists. Until today, it is not clear which reason or meaning this piece of art has to the Nazcan culture. Some people believe that they were runways where aliens landed. A white beach, or rather an endless desert of ice? It is seriously cold here, but no, we are at the Salar de Uyuni in Bolivia, the largest saline lake on Earth. Those dimensions are incomprehensible. We drive more than 1 hour with over 80 km/h on the rough salt without reaching the bank. We stay overnight on the small island in the middle of the White Plain. Only the corals remind you that all this was covered by water 10,000 years ago. We are completely alone. Once the wind stopped, it becomes so still that we can hear our blood rushing through our veins. A reason for that could also be that we've been chewing coca leaves, which we bought at the Witches Market in La Paz a couple days ago. The leaves improve the uptake of oxygen and ease the trouble of being in such great height. Since weeks, we've been traveling in heights of 3,000 to 4,000 meters, and we can feel it. But there was more to gaze at the Witches Market. Most Bolivians are Catholic, but many of them add a great variety of rituals and other cultures to their faith, and often they believe in the power of various herbs. For example, dried llama fetuses are sacrifices to Mother Earth. We are crossing the border to Chile on a very narrow passage, and we are immediately overwhelmed by the Chilean wilderness. The Chileans say about their country that when God created the world, he still had a lot of nature left, so that he ordered his angels to dump everything behind the large mountain range. And it exactly looks like that. One last time, we enjoy the mountains and stay overnight right next to the highest located gushing springs on Earth. On the El Tazio, which lies 4,300 meters above sea level. Only a few hours car ride later, we leave the Andes. There hardly could be a bigger contrast of landscape. Now we're, naturally, in a desert again.
Die Atacama ist die trockenste Wüste der Erde. Einige Bereiche davon sind so trocken, dass es seit Beginn der Wetteraufzeichnung noch nicht geregnet hat. Ich glaube, das brauche ich dann wirklich nicht. Oh, besser. Ah! Ja, danke!
But another record is awaiting us, since in the desert Atacama you can see the clearest starry sky in the world. We are heading further south, but one fact we did not take into consideration is that it's September. And it means it's winter now. Only 2 days after we leave the desert, we stand knee-deep in snow.
Ja, so hatten wir nicht gewettet, also. Da denkt man immer, dass Südamerika im Süden liegt und es da immer schön warm ist. Aber also Chile belehrt uns wirklich eines Besseren. Mal sehen, wir werden schon irgendwie durchkommen.
But the landscape is getting even nicer. Even though we weren't prepared for winter camping, we will work it out somehow. Despite having an outdoor kitchen. Chile's nicest route into solitude is the Carretera Austral. It starts from the north coming with a ferry ride through the Comau Fjord, passing uninhabited forests and snow-covered mountain peaks. The gravel track winds up 1,300 kilometers through the cold rainforest of Patagonia, passing lakes, rivers and marsh districts along near the border to Argentina. Up until 30 years ago, this part of Chile only could be reached by ship or airplane. Since we came here during the off-season, almost all stores are closed and we enjoy the passing of the winter completely without tourists. The end of the world is not far from here.
Patagonien ist der südlichste Teil Südamerikas und gehört zu Chile und Argentinien. Wir sind jetzt gerade im argentinischen Teil unterwegs und wir dachten eigentlich immer, dass sich endlose Weiten nur in den Vereinigten Staaten von Amerika finden lassen. Wir wissen jetzt aber, dass Argentinien und Chile genauso für endlose Weiten stehen. Wir sind jetzt gut 150 Kilometer schon unterwegs und 1,5 Stunden haben wir dafür ungefähr gebraucht und es ging seitdem wir losgefahren sind nur geradeaus. Einfach nur geradeaus und das Ganze wird auch die nächsten knapp 2000 Kilometer so weitergehen, bis wir dann endlich am südlichsten Punkt angelangt sind unserer Reise, nämlich in Ushuaia.
And it happens exactly as expected. A milestone after 43,000 kilometers on the road. The city looks as many other one do as, but one must have come here and see it. Here at the end of the world. Now it is almost time to think further. We are traveling already 13 months on the American continents and we do not want to go home yet. We decide to travel north, the first time on our tour. Hardly any region is as thinly populated as Patagonia. As one inhabitant out of 2 per square kilometer, one could enjoy endless freedom. If it wouldn't be all fenced off. Sometimes we are driving and we don't see another car for hours and no human soul. But the endless enclosure accompanies us. We make a short stop at the mountain massif called Torres del Paine. After so many days at the wheel, some movement is good for us. The winter is slowly making space for spring, but the streams and rivers are not completely free from ice yet. That's good for us, since we get some animals in front of the camera. We continue our trip to Perito Moreno. The glacier is one of the largest inland ice surfaces on Earth. More ice in one place exists only at the North and South Pole. The most interesting thing is though that the glacier is still growing to its conspecifics all over the world, since the climate change is hurting them. After debating for a long time, we know where we will head next. We will forward by sea from Buenos Aires to Asia. But we still have 4,000 kilometers ahead of us. Primarily dirt roads through monotonous steppe. That means dust, tire wear, and overall a pretty serious burden for Mr. Lehmann, who luckily can take a lot of those stresses and strains. We make one more stopover and visit the Peninsula Valdez. The whole island is a World Natural Heritage and famous for the variety of marine mammals that live here. First, we pay a visit to our monochrome friends, the penguins. Nobody knows why especially the Magellan penguins show no fear of human presence. One can get within a few meters of them. They do not let humans distract them. Only one bay further, sea lions and elephant seals are bustling and sunbathing. A full-grown seal can weigh up to 3 tons. That is heavier than our fully packed up Mr. Lehmann. Everything looks peaceful, but with the high tide, the feared enemy comes. The orcas have developed a hunting technique here that is unique in the world. And we become witnesses of it. The seals sleep in proximity of water. A group of orcas approaches them quietly. With all one's strength, they throw themselves onto the beach, grab their prey and pull them into death. A true whale crime show. Another bay further, we meet much unhurried species during mating season. The southern right whales can gain up to 50 tons of weight and still manage to move very graceful through the water. During high tides, they come up to a few meters close to the steep coast. One could almost pet them. But better watch it. Our time on the American continent is almost over. After 429 days and 49,985 kilometers without any major breakdowns, we are now ready to explore another continent. The adventure Asia can begin. We land in Malaysia. To be specific, in Kuala Lumpur. This country is a melting pot of cultures. People from many different nations settled here, and therefore one can only communicate with another when people speak English. It seems as if everyone else here speaks better English than us. It is Christmas. That is unimportant to Muslims, Buddhists and Hindus, but the festivities must be celebrated as they come. Therefore, Christmas is celebrated in Malaysia and the commerce is booming. Even without contemplation. This year we are empty-handed, but after 6 weeks of shipment we finally have our Mr. Lehmann back and he gets his Christmas present. The new front tires were seriously needed. The old ones were completely useless after 50,000 kilometers of traveling without protection. With new traction, we are moving forward through the tropical land. But driving on the other side of the road is strange in the beginning. Malaysia was a British colony for a long time. What's left is the left-hand driving. We can easily understand why the British came here. The Cameron Highlands have ideal conditions for tea planting. And in comparison to the rest of the country, this area is almost as wet and cold as the British Islands. We really enjoy the multicultural characteristic of the country and the equitable coexistence of different world religions in one place. By chance, we even run into an Indian wedding. Since there are so many people, we aren't even noticed. We drive further into the north and cross the border to Thailand. We finally find time to relax here. Usually there's always something to do for us, and there's almost no time to relax. A world travel is simply not a vacation. This is what a normal day would look like for us. We have had more than 1,000 wonderful adventures and experiences already. However, we do have some kind of a daily routine. A travel everyday routine that is way more laborious than at home. Cooking, washing dishes, laundry, and of course cleaning. Everything by hand, no support by any machines or household devices. Hot water, non-existent. Kati's most important job, to plan our next days, weeks and months. And Mr. Lehmann also needs here and there some care and attention.
Auch das muss mal gecheckt werden, irgendwelche komischen Geräusche. Also, wie es scheint, sind hier an der Zahnriemenabdeckung 3 Schrauben locker und 2 davon ab. Mal gucken, das muss ich wohl mal festmachen, ansonsten schleift es weiter am Zahnriemen.
But those odds and ends are repaired quickly and don't hold us up very long. We fall in love with Thailand right away. It is so diversely,
I love Germany.
so colorful and lively. Even the metropolis Bangkok, with millions of people, seems familiar to us just after a few days. Unfortunately, we are not the only ones who like it here. Millions of tourists from all over the world come to the coasts and cities every year, rising tendency for the future. The climate is ideal and the prices are low, but in the touristy areas we feel like besieged. It is unlikely to not be shortchanged. We continue into the inside of the country. It is quiet here and the atmosphere is more traditional, like the floating markets. We need to get up very early. The trade of the locals on the water starts with sunrise. The flying merchants let their boats float through the channels while selling pretty much everything one needs from boat to boat. Only one thing we really have to get used to is the spicy noodle soup for breakfast. 90% of the Thais are Buddhists. Their faith is an important and big part of their everyday life. We are surprised how many pray to the Buddha statues and shrines, even though the doctrine of Siddhartha Gautama does not have a god which people believe in or pray to. Everyone is completely responsible for themselves to enter the nirvana. Buddhism and the overall Asian life culture is foreign to us. However, we are daily fascinated by it. For now, we leave Thailand and visit Cambodia. Shortly after we cross the border, we notice that everything is quite different.
Autofahren in Kambodscha ist wirklich Abenteuer pur. Die Straßen sind mittelmäßig bis schlecht, doch das, was darauf kreucht und fleucht, ist wirklich chaotisch. Motorräder ohne Ende. Motorräder mit 5 Personen auf dem Sitz, Motorräder mit riesigen Anhängern, Ochsenkarren, selbstgebaute LKWs oder diese einachsigen Zuggefährte, die die Ochsenkarren langsam ablösen. Verkehrsregeln oder eine Überladungsgrenze gibt es sowieso nicht. Und dass einem Kinder auf dem Moped entgegenkommen, das ist vollkommen normal.
But Cambodia isn't as funny as it might seem at the moment, unfortunately. The country is shattered by wars. It used to be Switzerland of Southeast Asia, that's how high the standard of living was. But there's nothing of that feeling left after the reign of terror of Red Khmer, the Vietnam War and the related never-ending bombings. Only since 1988 things calmed down and the country starts its recovery. Nevertheless, Cambodia is still one of the poorest countries in the world. It's definitely still worth taking a trip here. Historic is also the legendary Angkor. It's an ancient city that belonged to the Angkor Kingdom and was supposedly the largest city in the world in the 10th century. Today, you can still visit the 1000 temple complexes, which altogether have a size as big as the German city Hanover. The wealth in detailed stucco works in porous sandstone is unique and more beautiful than words can say. There is no stone that is not filigree carved. We take 3 days to visit the site, but are only able to see a part of this large historic complex. In a short time, we pass through Laos. Naturally, there are main roads here as well, but we are more interested in the impressions of the rural areas of the country. The only thing we did not expect were porous door seals, of course. Representative of Southeast Asia, we examine Laos' environment very carefully. The country is similar constructed to Cambodia and faces a lot of struggles. Especially poverty and low levels of education. About 40% of Laotians have never gone to school in their life. There is a saying, only when all the essential needs are satisfied, humans think of nature. And it's exactly like that. If you look at this lunch meal for 2 people, you can understand the reason for the issue of wild garbage dumps. Particularly when you know that a garbage collection does not exist. Also, the omnipresent fire clearing of the rainforest adds to the already serious conditions. Our eyes are burning and our sinuses are clogged from the smoke in the air. The farmers rapidly gain a large amount of land to cultivate. In the long run, the land will see consequences in form of erosion, landslides, floods, and the extermination of wildlife. It sounds rough, but this all might still continue to some time. We don't have many appointments, but one day we've planned for months already. Our entry into China. Traveling by car through China is not that easy. Together with Miriam and Jörg in their Toyota, as well as Regina and Dave in a Volkswagen, we all decide to face the challenges of the Middle Kingdom. Already at the border, we meet our tour guide, Tony. He is part of the mandatory program. Without him, we wouldn't even get to where we are now. He takes care of all our paperwork and manages to get us all Chinese driver's licenses, as well as car registrations and license plates. But we did not know anything about a Chinese car inspection. And of course, we fail. Our brake force on the rear axle is faulty. But we can quickly readjust it at the parking lot.
So, how much do you know about cars?
But this lasts only for the next 20 kilometers. It was probably a bit too much. The wheel is stuck, the brakes have had it. So we just continue driving without it. The Chinese culture seems immediately highly interesting to us. We imagined China to be completely different, but it still meets exactly our expectations somehow. The mix of tradition and technology from the past and the present is fascinating. China is the country with the highest population on Earth. Almost 1.4 billion people live here. It's pretty hard to describe this whole incredible realm. One would have to live here for years to understand and get closer to the culture. The country continues to develop very rapidly. The authoritarian communism turns into consumerism. The economy grows, and with that also prosperity in the upper classes of society. On the countryside, there's almost no sign of all this. The cities, on the other hand, are booming, and with them, the tourism. Since approximately 1 decade, the Chinese have discovered their own country and find themselves visiting many sites in big legions. Tony said, "Only who really has money can travel here." We immediately realized that as well when we saw the admission fee they charged to sites. Therefore, we skip visiting some of the big highlights, since our wallet doesn't allow it. We crossed the whole country in 1 month, from south to north, towards Mongolia. And we covered almost 6,000 kilometers.
Straßen bauen, das können die Chinesen wirklich gut. In diesem unvorstellbar großen Land reist es sich wirklich sehr entspannt von A nach B, auch über große Distanzen pro Tag. Aber das hat seinen Preis. Wir dachten ja, dass Mexikos Autobahnmaut sehr teuer ist, mit 1 Euro auf 10 Kilometer. Doch die Chinesen toppen das noch mit 1 Euro auf 8 Kilometer. Das ist teurer als der Sprit, den wir verfahren auf der Strecke. Aber dafür muss man sich nicht auf kleinen Serpentinenstraßen die Berghänge hochquälen. Nein, die Chinesen zeigen hier ihre Manpower und treiben ellenlange Tunnel durch die Berge oder bauen talübergreifende Brücken.
Every evening, when we find a place where we stay overnight, we notice how many people really do live here. We are never alone. And our everyday chores have to be done even with an audience. Over time, it gets pretty tiring. The nerves are on edge since we cannot get away always from the crowd for a bit. We constantly feel like we are living in a fishbowl. But a good noodle soup can truly help us to relax.
Martin ist 100 kW.
Lecker? Ni hao.
A wonderful but stressful month is over. But our 20th month of traveling as well. Soon we need to start heading back home to Germany, but one more big adventure is awaiting us. One last special stage, pure off-road, Mongolia. Our first night in freedom again. We need to celebrate it.
Ja, wir haben keine Holzkohle gefunden und wir wollen Brot backen. Und wir sind ja jetzt auch in der Steppe, das heißt, hier gibt es einfach nichts zum Verfeuern. Und da sind wir losmarschiert und haben einen ganzen Berg voll Kamelscheiße eingesammelt. Und wir sind überrascht davon, wie gut das Ganze brennt. Und so steht Martin seinem scheiß Geburtstagskuchen nichts mehr am Wege.
Yes!
Except the weather. Even in May, it is still unpredictable. We are having still pie, and in addition, I get a medium-sized gift.
Es steht ein Kamel auf dem Flur.
The Mongols are nomadic people. During winter, many of them move to the city to work there. They leave their animals behind, letting them take care of themselves on the summer grazing. Before we separate from our new group of traveler friends, we drive together to a city called Ulaanbaatar. There is lots to do for us there before we will head towards solitude.
Für den chinesischen TÜV mussten wir die Hinterbremse nachstellen, weil die angeblich nicht funktioniert hat. Aber nach 20 Kilometern Bergstraße hat es angefangen zu qualmen und zu stinken. Da war die Bremse hinten fest und die Bremsbacken verglüht. Also mache ich das Ganze jetzt nochmal mit neuen Bremsbacken und hoffe, dass ich die jetzt so eingestellt bekomme, dass sie erstens bremst und zweitens nicht verglüht.
We continue on our own and drive into the Gobi Desert. We had missed this solitude since we drove through South America. The Gobi is a landscape of steppes and deserts. From sand to mountains, you can see all kinds of landscape. Sometimes we drive 1 or 2 days without seeing a village.
Sahen so durstig aus, die Kleinen. Wir haben am Brunnen gewartet, dass jemand kommt.
Small yurt settlements are more often on our way. Even there, the everyday life couldn't be imagined without technology. No family could live without solar panels or cell phones today. We drive deeper in the desert and soon encounter the first sand. That can't go well for long. However, we know how it works after 1.5 years of traveling and get out of this quickly. But the biggest adventure lies still ahead of us. High up, beautifully and threatening, she lies before us. The tune Congaree Knells. And we want to cross it. The 3-kilometer-long passage through the soft sand is a challenge that we take. We venture this attempt. The beginning seems harmless. But then it becomes soft. And too soft. We stop. We think and sleep over it one night, but the tune doesn't let us go. The next morning we look at our trail and deliberate even with the natives. Everyone is on the same page. With this car, but no four-wheel drive, there is no way we can make it. But what if we have a great amount of madness? All of a sudden we get the ambition. We need to succeed.
Und Kamerafrau, auch ein bisschen Angstschweiß?
Nee, Schwitzschweiß.
Alter Schwede. Ganz schön brachial hier. Und da schlatzt doch mal der Reifen im Rathaus, aber Herr Lehmann macht das gut. Los geht's. Kommt ein kurzes Stück, was vielleicht fest ist. Schwung holen. Und dann wieder in die weiche Sand rein. Zweiter Gang und Gas. Juhu!
We better don't mention the fuel consumption. Slowly we realize that we have to be back to Germany in just 4 weeks. Time passes too quickly. In the last kilometers, Mongolia demands a lot of us. There are only 2,000 kilometers of plain-tarred road. Most of the German dirt roads are in better conditions as the Mongolian main roads. Exactly that made the country so appealing to us. Yet Mr. Lehmann is reaching his limits. The deterioration is immense. Only a few more meters of freedom and then we hit the first asphalt road in Russia. It almost feels like home to us. Two years full of experiences and adventures lie behind us. Mr. Lehmann carried us bravely for 75,000 kilometers through 22 foreign countries. Once we are close to Germany, we feel a bit drawn to home by a feeling of homesickness. We accelerate and drive home. But the desire to travel will come again for sure, very soon.
Tell me a story that I've never heard. Make me wanna believe. Magic and wisdom, freedom and love. Try and make them seem real. Capture the dreams that are floating about me. Scribble them on my future for me. Give me everything that I ever wanted. Most certainly anything I'll need. Write me a story that has love forever. Heroes who don't fall for the greed.
Ist an, glaube ich.
Ich hab die Kamera angespuckt.
Scheiße, ey, das ist echt schwierig.
One, two, three, test, check, check, check.
Das scheiß Ding ab! Und Mist!
Noch ein Stück nach da. Nee, nicht du, die Kamera. Ein Stück zurück. Ein Stück nach da drehen. Ja, so. Noch ein Stück ran. Stopp. Genau so. Und so bewegst du dich nicht. Ach so, du hast mich also drauf. Hallo. Au. Scheiße. Moin. Also, die Baja California. Ging es weiter?
Buenos Dias.
Nochmal. 1, 2, 3. Buenos Dias aus Mexiko. Total bescheuert. Läuft meine Kamera da drüben noch?
Das ist die peruanische Küstenwüste.
Das ist auch gute Wasser hier.
Ja, die Tiere freuen sich doch.
Ja, ist doch schon voll.
Und Hasi, wie ist es mal an fremden Autos rumzuschrauben?
Ja, auch mal schön. Unser Herr Lehmann schlägt sich wacker, aber der hier hat aufgegeben, jetzt eine Schraube abgebrochen, die die Achse hält. Und damit sollte man auch nicht weiterfahren. Dann reißt sie vielleicht die ganze Achse raus. Und er wird ganz unkonventionell einfach mal das Bodenblech von oben mit der Axt geöffnet. Man versucht, diese Schraube rauszudrehen.
Buenos Dias aus Mexiko.
Ach, ich bin dran. Stopp, 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 stopp.
Finger weg, es wird gefilmt. Jugendfrei, FSK 6.
Wo sieht man Panda-Bären und Kamele zusammen?
Gar nicht.
Im Zoo. Na, wie war's?
Ich gebe keinen Kommentar ab, das ist Privatsache.
Wenn ich mit 20 fahre, fahre ich wesentlich angenehmer, als wenn der Martin hier fährt. Der meint nämlich hier Wüstenrallye machen zu müssen und beschleunigt ständig von 50, um dann sofort wieder auf 10 km/h abzubremsen. Deswegen bin ich jetzt am Steuer. Jetzt fahre ich die nächsten 1000 Kilometer. Das kann man sich ja nicht mehr antun.
Okay.
Seid nicht schon wieder Buenos Dias, das kannst du ja wohl reinschneiden.
Okay, einmal noch Buenos Dias.
Okay.
Buenos Dias.
Nochmal. Hör auf, dauernd so zu feixen. Okay, also, und versuch ein bisschen kräftiger zu reden. Okay. Und halt deine Beine still, das hört man nämlich. 3, 2, 1.